Hold on.
Okay.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the greatest Marvel talk on this YouTube channel, on the Blackcast YouTube channel. I am Christian Blatt. This is a fun-filled installment of Marvel movie talk. As always, as I said, I am Christian Blatt. Over there is the one, the only connoisseur of pork roll and Taylor ham, the one and only Mr. Eric Connor.
Cheers. How y'all doing? Thank you,
And
Katie. Thank
returning here to talk She-Hulk is Katie Hampton. We're sticking with Hampton, right? I know we were just talking about your engagement. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, Elsasser, it's a long name. Not a lot of people remember it. It's hard to pronounce. It's confusing to look at. So Hampton
It also sounds like you're drunk when you say it.
Yeah, no, it does. It sounds like you're drunk, but like in a German country too. Like you're trying to hit those consonants, but it just
that's
really
an Oktoberfest name.
Yeah. That's an Oktoberfest name for sure. Absolutely.
Well, we're assembled Avengers style here to talk about She-Hulk episode 3. But Katie, as this is your first time with us, I wanted to give you a moment to talk about heading into this episode, your thoughts on the first 2 episodes and just what stood out for you so far before you saw this episode 3.
First off, holy fourth wall breaking. Just in this episode alone, it's been great. I've really enjoyed this show. I'm a personally huge fan of Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black Days, and have been singing her praises and being like, she needs an Emmy for like years, and finally she got one. Along with Rami Malek, same year, great time. But this show is fantastic. Jessica Gao, I feel like, is killing it. I love the humor. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea of a show, but it's one of those shows that is just pure comedy, and pure comedy from a female perspective that is just balls to the wall wacky, and it's all of my favorite kind of humor all packed into one. And as someone who has been compared to a Hulk because I'm a very tall woman, it's just hitting all the right beats for me. And this episode was a lot shorter than I was expecting. That ending was a bit of a twist for me. And I don't know the comic as well as most people, but I love the journey that we're going on. And I feel like we're seeing threads of a much bigger story starting to kind of slowly come into play.
Well, also in true Hulk fashion, our mutual friend Jonathan London over at Geekscape, he did warn me that Hulk style, I won't like you when you're angry. So that's why it's all sunshine, roses, and pork roll here on the show to make sure that no one gets upset about anything. Oddly enough, the way that it's worked out as we've covered this show, you're the first female that's joined us because of people who we usually have scheduled being unavailable. And I wanted to give you a moment to sort of comment on, there is, of course, and we will talk about how they addressed it in this episode, backlash to any female-led series, movie, in any aspect of fandom, Marvel, the Marvel Universe, the MCU notwithstanding. And to me, I felt like in the first episode, the speech that Jennifer gives to Bruce about what it's like to be a woman is like, well, yeah, I have a wife. I've heard that. Eric's had a wife, and when she talks to him, I think
I currently have one. It's not
she didn't get lost.
No, my anniversary is in 2 months, Christian, please.
Have you seen her lately? That's all I'm asking.
Why would I need to? We're married. She can go off with that handsome coworker of hers for
Let's
like
just
months.
say Eric's
That's
wife
cool.
lives in Canada. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll move on.
By the Niagara Falls area, yes.
Right under the falls. So, and I just kind of wanted to get your thought as sort of like this idea. And we see it again in the third episode where she's like, oh, I've been jumped by these guys. Oh, yeah, right. I'm She-Hulk. What do you think about sort of that, which to me seems like that's authentic, actual storytelling for a female character. And we haven't gotten enough of it in a lot of these fandoms. And I don't know. Do you find that they're giving accurate voice to concerns that all women actually have?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a comedy, so it's also a comic book comedy, so it's not going to hit every single point that, I think women want to make. But I think it's that perfect combination of the female experience and then what it means to be in the public eye. And what it means to be in the public eye is either you have to be a very rageful woman or like a very magnanimous woman. And I love that not a lot of people in the show's audience understand what to do with her. And a lot of people watching the show also don't quite know what to do with the show. I love that aspect because it's not like, she doesn't want to fight. She doesn't want to be an Avenger. She doesn't want to she's like, I've worked my entire life to be a good lawyer and I just want to be an anonymous good lawyer. But unfortunately, she's like shrouded in public light now and it's only getting worse. And she's been giving all this tests. And I feel like there's something very symbolic with shoes with this show. And I can't make heads or tails of it yet, but there's a very purposeful couple of shots of putting shoes down in front and like filling the shoes of something. I don't know what it is, but even in this episode, we had the Abomination have like very purposefully put these two shoes down. And I don't know what the symbolism is for that. And I feel like there is some kind of a tie-in of just like, you know, girls in their shoes, they just love their shoes or whatever. When the person itself has become someone that is literally too big to fill any version of shoes until they shrink themselves down. And I feel like that commentary has been so just like that monologue was one of my all-time favorites. It's one of those things that I'm just like, yes, you see her go green and then you go back down and you're like, yeah, that's what women have to feel like every single day. But now you add on a superpower on top of it, and a superpower that she doesn't necessarily want to use in any capacity other than to defend herself, defend others, or whatever. But now it's being put on display and everybody knows who she is, and they don't want her to do the thing that she's good at, which is being a lawyer. They want her to Hulk out. And she's like, but that's not me.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting thing. And one of the things that I like and is that I think they really highlight when she's Jennifer. Yeah. She is so much smaller than everyone around her. Like, I know she's not the tallest woman out there, but they've done a really good job of making her seem even more diminutive. And the fact that it's like, and then She-Hulk comes along. It's funny, you were talking about the shoes, and it reminded me that let's just say someone I know did a rewrite on Batman and Robin, and that's the George Clooney one. Hey, gotcha. He got paid. They didn't use any of his stuff. It was a check.
That's the job of a writer. Gotta get paid.
The one thing that he was the most proud of in it was something that they didn't use. You know, everybody's getting ready. So Alicia Silverstone's getting ready as Batgirl. And, you know, all of the gear goes on. And then he just thought it was very funny that then there's the feminine moment on top of it where she takes a step back and then admires all of the boots and has to like take a moment to try to figure out which one actually goes best with the Batgirl outfit. No, none of it happened, but and you know, maybe the movie shouldn't
that would have saved the movie. I think that might have scene.
Listen, as a kid, I loved that movie, and it was just as ridiculous going back and rewatching it. Sometimes movies and television don't have to be something making a huge point. Sometimes they're just entertaining and they make a couple points along the way. And I feel like this show, it's making some points, and it's some like very good points of like, what do we do with someone who is famous that we don't really understand? And like, what are our expectations as an audience for this kind of like, whatever the hell we're looking at. I do think they're making good points, but I think the main root of this is that it's fucking entertaining, man. Yeah. Like, it's very entertaining. And that movie, granted, not the best Batman movie. Let's be real. Michael Keaton's always been my guy. I love him. I think he's the perfect Batman. But, you know, that movie was, if nothing else, something that we're still talking about today because it's so ridiculous.
Well, we all survived it together. It's like, you know, we will speak of COVID for many years. It's similar kind of thing, I'd argue, except a little more fun.
Yeah,
but only a little.
Just a little.
A little bit more fun.
But your point on the show being fun is, I don't, I mean, look, I don't know what you thought of Thor: Love and Thunder, but Eric and I were just like, it's like he says in the movie, it's a classic Thor adventure. What did you want from it? It's the fourth movie. Go have fun, and if you don't have fun, I'm sorry. Yeah. They were just trying to have fun. Don't be mad that they wanted to have fun with Thor 4. You know,
right.
Thor.
Thor.
Yeah, 4.
Ooh, rough. Well, I think it's a similar thing. We're in a phase right now where we've just had a lot of heavy shit happen in phase 3, and we're kind of in recovery mode for phase 4, and Thor 4, you know, it was I will say I liked Thor 4 better than I liked Multiverse of Madness. I'm just putting that out there. So waiting for the DMs to roll in on that one. But that's just because I love comedy. Yeah, just type away. I love comedy, and I love Taika Waititi. Jojo Rabbit, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
On top of all the projects that he does. And I think the thing that's been really working for me, at least in She-Hulk, is how we're making fun of just the Marvel universe in general, or just filmmaking in general. Like when she turns to the camera and breaks the fourth wall for like the 30th time for this episode, and she's like, "Ah, yes, the A and B plot coming together." Like I was like,
well, that was actually our screen grab that Eric sent, and that came up in the chat a moment ago. And I think that when we get the moments, I like that she was like, I know you guys want to see Wong, and that was funny. And then this one is completely unnecessary, but I think that's why I liked it the most is, like, oh, connecting the A and B plots, it's like,
it's also the screen. It's also the screen grab I'm most likely to use in my TV writing class. Fair enough. Like it's right there. Like that might be my. I put that on the screen for the whole class one day.
Right, and you can be like, do this without having the main character.
Right. You don't need to. You don't need to tell us you did it, but if you do it,
like you need it to happen just structurally for the script to work.
Allow it to happen. Don't get in the way of it happening.
Nice. Yeah. No, it's a great talking point, especially for future writers. Please make sure that they're just writing in format. That's all I ask. Working in the digital space, all I ask is for an actual formatted script. But apart from all of that nerdiness, it's interesting how they're breaking the fourth wall in this show. Like with Deadpool, it's a lot of like he's along the ride with you and the experience, and like some of the breaking of the wall is a little bit more geared towards the audience, and I feel like this one is more geared towards the experience. Like, look, I know you're waiting for Wong. He's coming. Don't worry. Yeah. It's not like one of those shows. It's a lawyer show. I love that she's trying to reinstate the purpose of the show, and yet the show itself is kind of taking its own journey. So it's almost like she's breaking the fourth wall, but she doesn't necessarily have all the information for like the end game. Like it seems like Deadpool kind of knows what's going to happen. She's kind of experiencing it along with us.
She's not an omniscient narrator. In fact, she knows only a little bit more than we do. And she only knows more than we do because she's there.
Yes.
If we were in the car, we might know actually just as much. Eric, you can use that as a jumping off point or really anything. Some of your thoughts on episode 3 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, given the full title this time.
I feel like this reached exactly where I wanted this show to be, because I think like what the show has that the other ones don't have as much is a real serialized part, which is the legal part. And this episode finally gave us that, like, right. And I get it. Like the first 2 episodes is a fair amount of setup, but this one actually is the model, in my opinion, of what the show could be. Hopefully for my humble opinion should be for a while, which is like, what's the case of the week? And I love that B story. I thought, what was her name? Nona. What was the
elf of the
Asgardian elf.
I can't remember
somebody in the chat mentioned her name,
I'm
saying
going
that they expected us to see her again. Cami Egan said that Runa is going to pop up some more again. Yep. Ivan Soto also just jumped in now that Runa is the name. Yeah.
And
that was a perfect B-side story. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Katie.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just saying that, like there's a theme of the like sort of, case of the week type of thing, but we're not seeing those fully flesh out. And this was the first time we finally got to see, especially the dude who we see in the very first scene, like being misogynistic and douchey. And like, she also gets to have a great moment on the stand and talk directly to him and say exactly what she thinks.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. Like it's almost like the writing staff is writing how they would love to have superpowers, but still use your regular human powers to just stick it to the man.
Right. And it's her it's her former co-worker Dennis Bukowski. I think that's a great douche name, so I wanted to make sure that we shine a light on Dennis Bukowski.
Oh yeah.
What were you going to say, Eric?
But one thing too that you were bringing up before, Katie, as far as like I hate to use the term feminist themes, but it's kind of what they are. It's in essence like that speech we talked in a previous episode, how like I think my wife forwarded that speech to like countless of her friends, and she's not a big Marvel geek by any stretch. She's just very tolerant of me and her sons. But she like totally got that, and she was trying to raise money for a company that she was co-partners in, and in essence, like her and her female co-partner, when they would go in, it would be like, oh, okay, and the idea, like then they read like this guy they know with his male partner go in and get whatever. So I think one of the things they do really well is those themes come across with a light touch, but they're not trivial. Like I don't think they, by having humor, reduce it at all. I mean, and this was a few seasons ago on Christian's show, talking about how like Winter Soldier and Falcon kind of missed that mark of working in the themes into the story. It felt tacked on. It felt sort of alluded to without really experienced. Here, I feel like by having like the opening they did in episode 1, where he's trying to mansplain how to like go about her argument. Right off the bat, you see what she deals with. And they didn't need to give us much more than that. And so I think they have found a way to be kind of like a show for all seasons. There's comedy, there's some fun action along the way. There's slapstick, by the way, which I think is great. When in episode 2, when she turned human and got drunk immediately, was brilliant. That made me laugh out loud, like loud enough to like wake up someone in the house.
Oh no!
So yeah, it was the dog. I mean, he wakes up pretty easy. So
I was thinking it was the Canadian wife, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
You mean my wife Gord?
Oh, yes.
So in essence, like I think this show like is really in its zone right now. I would love to see more than one season. I want to see Jennifer Walters join the Avengers, because really what this part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe needs is a leader. They don't have that right now. And so that to me is like the ultimate sort of goal of the next few movies. Who is replacing the Iron Man, Captain America?
I think we're not quite seeing a heroic lead. I think we might be seeing an underbelly lead come to rise. And I feel like Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like on the way. And I feel like she's pulling some strings in a lot of different shows,
sure,
and I feel like she's making the path towards like something bigger. And maybe like that's what we're kind of going with, is that sort of dichotomy of like, who are we really looking for? Like, what main character is going to be coming out throughout all the movies and whatnot, and who's going to be our theme. So, I mean, apart from, Captain Marvel, just sort of seemingly going to be like the heroic lead, I feel like Julie Louis-Dreyfus is probably coming along just to be that sort of not villain, but anti-hero in a way, collecting all these different, not so great people.
Like if Nick Fury was just an asshole, that's what she is, and that's what's so fun about her.
Super into politics.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's sort of like she's putting together a sort of very self-serving group of people that are gonna, for whatever it is that she's trying to accomplish. Cami Egan gets the comment possibly of the year in the show, referencing the characters we see at the end. Are the Wrecking Crew working for Kingpin? Or do they just die in your arms tonight? Yes, Cami Egan, they should have walked away. That's what they learned from that. That was beautiful. I want to cry. I love that comment.
Honestly, I don't think you should reach your 500th episode, Christian. I think like that's a peak. Why go? There's only one way to go from a peak.
Yeah, this is way better than the 500th episode of the Blackcast, which, thanks for bringing it up. I'll be posted on Monday.
Oh, it's already been recorded?
2-hour sit-down conversation with the John Lovitz, and
nice.
Please find it on this same YouTube channel.
Tommy Flanagan. I haven't seen Ivana.
I'm a member of Pathological Liars Anonymous. In fact, I'm the president of that organization. Hello,
Mr. Blatt. If I had your job, I'd kill myself. One of the best lines
for the rest of the time.
Yes,
yeah.
Hello, farm girls.
Yeah, everything we say.
See those cows? Try not to milk them.
Let's talk about some of the characters that we saw. We did see sort of the low rent. Did you guys rob an Asgardian construction worker?
Oh gosh, that's funny. And they're like, yes.
So, Alexa, stop. That was great. I don't even know what I said. That was
You said Asgard,
watch
and she's
does that
like
all
my
the
people.
yeah,
Oh, does
right,
it?
exactly. She's also a shapeshifter. They
Seems
referenced that they referenced their boss, and that was the actual point, apart from the brilliant social commentary from Cami Egan. The idea that they're working for someone. Could it be the Kingpin? I'm thinking somebody else.
Who do you
Somebody
think?
trying to get her blood. Which is like, wow, they are. I guess they watched the recap at the beginning of the show and they know how she became She-Hulk. So they're like, great, let's get some of her blood. I think that it was interesting to see how quickly she dispatched them. And honestly, when they first jumped out, I thought they were kids. And I was like,
Yeah,
she's being
totally.
really rough to these kids. But then I guess they're not kids. They're the wrecking crew. One of them was even called Thunderball, which we
it was
had
like
an
the
iteration
watered
of
down.
Thunderball
It's the
before.
group. The Thunderbolts
Yeah.
are like the group. Yeah, okay.
Well, the
When the
Thunderbolts,
Wrecking
but one of them was
Crew-
called Thunderball. And I'm sorry, what were you saying, Eric?
Yeah, with the Wrecking Crew, I mean, like that
Yeah.
group shows up in Marvel somewhat regularly, and I love them from their '80s run when they actually legitimately seem like badasses instead of just construction workers, on a break from putting up supply. So I think I hope this is not the real Wrecking Crew. They were pretty easily dispatched, but definitely, I mean, the Easter egg couldn't have been more Eastery eggy than that to actually even have the character name mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, no, exactly. And as we referenced, we did also get to see Wong. I think it's always fun to see him. Still Sorcerer Supreming out there. I did like the exchange with Jennifer, where he basically tries to solve all the problems with magics and dimensions, and she's like, "Don't touch your nose."
Yeah, don't touch your nose.
Mirror dimension.
Yeah, I think that Wong
Shadow?
is my favorite.
I love
He's
that.
so
Like,
funny.
he doesn't quite understand the legal system, but he does know when they're like, "Hey, you just admitted to a crime." He's like, "Gotta go."
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Well, even his entrance when he comes running in like he just came from a battle, and then he goes, "Oh, I just forgot what time it was." Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't doing
He
anything.
could have said anything. He could have
Right.
said that he was getting the dark hold or something back from
Oh,
Wanda.
right.
Nope. I just forgot. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess if you're in that position, it's going to be a hard time to nail down a timeline of what you're doing for the
Yeah.
day.
And they could have just done some
Right.
cross promotion. He's like, "I'm sorry, I was getting caught up in season 3 of Bluey, now available on Disney Plus." Anything like that would have worked. So I enjoyed seeing him, and let's see, Dominicus Saxon does compliment Tim Roth. He is excellent. I thought this was a right on par with everything I see him in performance. You should find a movie of 1997 with Tim Roth called Deceiver. I've never seen that, so
He
I
also
will
had a TV
do
show
my
called Lie to Me, so he
Yes.
really
Yes.
he's really into bullshit apparently. Like that's his MO.
Now,
I don't want to go out on a limb, but maybe he should run for office. We'll be right back now.
Do you think he has any connection to Titania or Titania? I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
I,
Yeah.
I think
Titan
the fact that he's out with a little inhibitor, basically, he's got, like an Apple Watch on, so
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the last of him. And
Oh, no.
No.
We
Yeah.
haven't seen the last of Jamila Jamil for sure because
no,
she's doing too much promotion.
No, and there was a story, since we're talking about her. Eric, you were the one who brought this to me, and I think a lot of people probably saw this, but let's go ahead and to go with not this advertisement, but one of it's not a far cry for the New York Post to have a headline that uses the word butthole, but there she is. Jamila Jamil says she injured her butthole
Mhm.
during She-Hulk stunts. And I'm glad
know
that
why?
was important enough for Eric to text it to me.
Because
but,
she wanted the kick to be like a full on, like, the running joke is like getting kicked in the nuts. It's awful. Getting kicked in the is not the greatest either. So she apparently wanted the stunt to be where She-Hulk punches her right in the nani. I'm trying to be very PC
Yes.
about this, but
No, good for
yeah,
you.
I think that's the biological word.
the nani. Yeah, I've
nani,
got
I think you're
plenty of NSFW type words for all kinds of appendages. But yeah, no, apparently, and then I guess while being on the wires and everything.
Yeah, she said that I pulled muscles I didn't know I had, including one in my the New York Post abbreviates as A-hole, but they use butthole in the
title
in the headline. So
New York
and
Post,
the reason
just
I
the
bring it
peak
up
journalism.
is yeah, she's been out there doing doing some promotion. There was that viral video of her spray painting some of the She-Hulk advertising here in Los Angeles. So yeah, we're very much going to see her. I feel like the end of the season is going to probably bring together all of these elements that we've seen, including her, Abomination, and whomever the Wrecking Crew might be working for. And what say you, Eric, in terms of what we're possibly building towards, and do you think we'll see Abomination in Abomination form again?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, okay, important question about the said hole from this article. So, do you remember Tina Turner's legs were insured by Lloyd's of London?
Oh my god!
Well, Mary Hart's were. I didn't know Tina Turner's were.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how do you get insurance for that body part? I just want to put it out there to the universe so we can ponder together.
There's probably someone who specializes in that. You know, they took an elective.
The proctologist of insurance people is out there.
Right, exactly.
Are you suggesting that Jameela Jamil should insure her butthole?
Well, I bet she wishes she had.
Listen, insurance is that thing. When you need it, and it's always too late when you realize you do. So
what she realizes now is that it wasn't just a show that she used to be on. She really hurt herself in The Good Place. Thank you very much.
Oh, come on now, Christian.
Game over. Bye.
I'm just trying to up my game because Kame Egan was so funny with that Wrecking Crew comment.
I'm sorry. That Good Place was just chef's kiss.
Oh boy.
Never more proud to be next to you, Christian.
Yeah.
But as far as non-butthole topics, like where's the show going? Yeah, I mean, like obviously she's coming back. Otherwise, it's the single worst, character intro and extra and outro ever. She shows up. Who are you? And then she gets knocked down in one punch. It's like no. So we're gonna get more of her. Yeah. I mean, you get Tim Roth and Abomination and his various Big Love-esque mistresses, which I think they deserve their own show too. Coming this fall with the banker. Yeah. I mean, because also too, it was such an Easter egg. We're all like, "Oh, Thunderbolts!" And then the writer's like, "No, F you! It's not the Thunderbolts. It's a group of sister wives. Suck it."
I hope they get at least one line personally, just so they can get that SAG voucher for them.
Oh yeah, right. So that they're able to enroll in the dental program.
Right. I hope so. But Emil Blonsky, I love Tim Roth. I'm thrilled to see him any place, anytime. But Emil Blonsky from The Hulk and Emil Blonsky here, it's as if they're not related at all. Like if you I watched The Incredible Hulk like a year or two ago, and he's great in it, and he totally is like a kick-ass mercenary. And then this guy here, now again, the logic we brought up I think before was being in the Abomination body for years would F up any of us. We would come out a very different person. But clearly it's almost like they brought him back and said, but listen, Tim, we don't want that version of Emil Blonsky. We don't want the Louis Lasseter or whatever that director's name is. We don't give a shit about what he told you to do. Like, come here, have some fun, enjoy the snacks.
That might work in a movie that has the Universal logo at the beginning of it, but this is the Mouse House, and that's not how we roll. Because we're talking about Emil Blonsky, and his sort of reformation, I wanted to go with something that I was very happy to see on Twitter from the She-Hulk official Twitter account. And it is indeed his haikus. They asked, it was one of those, like, if you like this tweet enough, we will actually post the haikus. So I will, I don't know that I'm going to be good at doing the dramatic reading, but we'll just go through them very quickly. My tiny ears hear the storm and stirrings of time, pain caused and carried. Now, if you think about that, some of us may have had a girlfriend, write some poetry that we're supposed to look at and react favorably to. Perhaps some of us wrote it in our own journals. I'm not confessing to anything, but I've heard worse. Abomination or rehabilitation. Who are we to judge? It's a great point. Glass walls surround me. Prisoner is what I am, yet inside I am free. To the world, I am an abomination, but to me, I'm a meal. And in some ways, we're all a meal. It's lonely in here, though I don't see it that way. I have my soulmates. I'm not going to be able to read this one because there it is. If inside you feel a rage uncontrollable, just breathe. Namaste.
My favorite is just the thought process of these writers being like, okay, I'm gonna write one like banger. Like this is like a real haiku, probably like coming from the perspective, and then everything else is just like, okay, guys, we got to get these submissions in.
I like to envision a script coordinator on this show has like a file with like 1,000 of them. Everybody just kept turning them in, and anybody who worked on the show was like, "You got one? Let's see if we can use it." And they found a way to get it on there.
I like the logic too, because if we look at this almost like it's coming from the show, like from within the show, he took over She-Hulk's account. So somehow he got her password, and no one has noticed somehow that for many, many days, it seems, he just keeps posting this stuff. So bravo to Neil Blonsky, who knew he was so tech savvy.
He probably guessed that her password is Bruce is a dork, something like that. Maybe that's not exactly it, but that was the first one he tried, and then he did variations on that. I do think that, he has changed in some ways, but I also feel like there'll be a scene later in this series where an opportunity presents itself. It's like, hey, you want to go do some abominationing? He'll be like, yeah, sure. And he'll just leave it all behind, so I think he wants to be better, but at the same time, it's probably
he's up to something.
It's more fun to be an abomination,
It's abominating time.
Yeah, that's true. It is abominating time.
Oh no! So, is this a Morbin thing?
it felt like
everything's a Morbin thing.
Yeah,
everything's a Morbin thing.
yeah, exactly.
I'm just like I did like at the end here that like we do have a little bit of action, which this was the episode that was full lawyer show until the very end, which I wasn't really expecting. And I loved the moment of her just being like, "Oh yeah, I don't have to freak out. I can just turn into Hulk and I'll be fine."
Yeah.
And that fight, it did go from like kind of goofy, wacky to like pretty intense. Like she smashed that guy's head, and I was like,
"Oh, yeah, that guy would have broken his neck." I think, like the way he landed. Like I'm like, that guy's not getting up ever.
One of my favorite things is there's a YouTube series where it's all of the Spider-Man like takedowns of bad guys in like the Spider-Man video game, and how it would like destroy people. Like, you never killed anyone. I don't know about that. Like he's like flinging people off of a building. That's a kill. That's a kill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. His powers and his abilities are so unpredictable that he tried to save his girlfriend's life and he broke her neck. So, it can be really hard to be Spider-Man.
It's true. It's true. It's very true. Oh, Lord.
This has gone on in the chat a little bit. Ivan wants to know, do you think Wong revealed he remembers Peter Parker? I think he knows that there was that Steven did like a forget spell. I don't know that he necessarily remembers anything. They've left that open-ended, though they can decide if he remembers Peter Parker or not. But supposedly no one remembers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but everyone knows that there is a Spider-Man. They know that they've met the guy, and maybe he even knows like, oh yeah, we used to know who he was, but we then followed it up with something different so that
I know, who remembers Peter Parker, though? Sony's lawyers. They
Oh,
are living and dying by Peter Parker right now.
you're 100% correct.
Yeah, boy, are they really. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's almost like a name thing. Like Peter Parker is the person that everyone has forgotten, literally everyone. And even it seems like even his school records are gone too. Peter Parker. Kids don't remember going to school with him. Like no one remembers who Peter Parker is, but people remember who Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I feel like is a fascinating thing for the future movies to come, or just like his involvement with the Avengers. How's that going to look? I mean, no one knows who Peter Parker is.
Yeah, and a great opportunity to mention that this weekend, the quote unquote more fun stuff version of Spider-Man No Way Home will be in theaters. And if you live where we do here in Los Angeles and you think like, oh yeah, I could sit in my home or apartment where it's 107 degrees, or I can go see No Way Home one more time. And if they want to throw some extra stuff, I think that the early buzz, I don't want to read the articles too closely because I don't want to have anything ruined. I think I probably will go see it next week, but the extra stuff is a little underwhelming from what I'm told. But I'm like, well, the movie was good. I haven't seen it. I saw it twice, so it's been a while now. So it seems like a great way to as Crazy Eddie would say, beat the heat, to just get right back in there. So are either of you considering seeing that movie again, or if you watch it again, it'll be some other day digitally, or
I have to admit, I have central AC, so I'm fully expecting to not go anywhere.
Perfect.
But I will see this, and I really love that movie. I thought that was a fantastic movie and really well done. So as much as it might just be like, yeah, there's a reason why they cut that scene, but, I'm still going to enjoy it. I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
A million years ago, I was hanging out with a buddy in Manhattan, and it was like heat wave plus the humidity of New York City. And we had all these plans for the day, but we met up and we both took the subway. We already just looked like hell. And we saw Apocalypse Now Redux was playing, and we're like, 4 hours of air conditioning will do it. We went in, there was like no one there. It was like a Tuesday afternoon, and it was the best way to avoid it. I have central AC that is right now fighting the good fight to live, but dying ever so slowly. So I think that's going to be my solution.
I believe there was someone else there, and it was me. The Lowe's up at Lincoln Center, and I was just like, if this plantation sequence goes on for another hour, that's going to be fine by me. It was like, it's a perfect example
about the French characters.
It's a perfect example of like, oh, this is all interesting, but thank God they cut it all out. It's like, I'm so glad that I saw the movie the way it came out, and then later can check it out after the fact, because it was like, oh yeah, we didn't need any of this.
Not at all. But I didn't mind in that when the air conditioning's rocking, don't come knocking. I was perfectly happy.
Wait, what kind of theater was this again?
It wasn't Apocalypse Now. I'm sorry.
It was a
Penis Lips
pop,
Now. I think
a pop up this now. That didn't quite work, but I felt the pressure.
Apocalypse Now. Thank you.
Oh my God! How could I? Thank you, Katie.
I'm writing that tonight.
Okay, great.
I mean, the highlights of this episode. Well, there's 3.
Solid joke.
That's number 2. But Cami Egan still wins with just a completely unexpected Wrecking Crew reference. That if I had thought of, I wouldn't have made it, because I'm like, even for me, that's too obscure, and that's why we love Cami Egan. And Ghost is going to see it this weekend at his local theater in the Inland Empire, where it'll be 112. So let us know what you think. I will try to see it by our show next week, just to see sort of what it is. And we know, Cami, I get it. Katie wins with the movie title, Apocalypse Now. By the way, how was that not made?
I'm sure it is. I have no doubt in my mind. I'm like, is that something I've seen, or did I just come up with that?
I'm like, that might actually be on my Pornhub queue.
But to say
it's a dark hole to go down when you're like, is this a porn?
It's a good place to go down, obviously.
In any case, the day is whole. Congratulations, you won $50.
Speaking of
David
pork
Duck
roll,
comes out.
no, enough. That's enough. All right.
Taylor,
And
that
this is the
ham.
show Michael's not here for. And he missed all of
We're
this.
filling the hole.
Listen, it's par for the course when I come on a show and just make it dirty. Sorry.
So I wanted to we alluded to it at the beginning. I thought that there was a really fun sequence early on in the episode where they're going through sort of the media reaction to her. And
yes,
you can tell it's
Some of
very
it was
intentional.
bold. Yeah.
And it's a lot of stuff about like why does it just have to be a girl version of another superhero?
Yeah.
Why don't you make your own thing? And it's like, if they had it in the episode originally, that's amazing. If they rushed it together after the premiere, that's even more amazing. Because you
I
can
think they knew. I
you
think
can
they
fly
knew.
that stuff in really quick.
Yeah.
The videos and stuff.
You know,
But what did
like,
you think, Katie?
Anytime you have a female anywhere near being a lead, you're gonna get just the worst of humanity coming
Right.
out. Make it, because again, it's that whole thing of like, you don't pay attention either if it's like pure anger or like pure magnanimousness. So like anybody who has seen this scene is like, yeah, this was coming. This was absolutely coming. And also, the show creator or the I believe the showrunner, Jessica Gao.
Yeah.
She's had this experience, I'm fairly certain, with a lot of the different projects and things that she's worked on as well. And I love the fact that Megan Thee Stallion was in this episode. Props to Christian's name today.
I was just waiting for somebody to compliment me. So
Forgive
thank you,
me.
Katie.
I love this like running thread, and I was like, they're making this so much of a joke, like it's gonna become a thing, like she's gonna make an appearance, and she does. And I love that tag at the end too. But just sort of like the social awareness of the show is one of the things that I've really, really been loving, and I love the comment thread is like almost word for word exactly what I'm seeing from a lot of people.
Yeah, no, my Twitter had a lot of those same phrases strung together after the show premiered.
Yes.
And
Gross.
the crazy thing is, I'm like, people who like hated the premiere, I'm like, well, then why are you watching
Why do you
the
keep
third
watching
one?
it?
Yeah, it's like,
the
it's
first
fine
word
if you
is
don't like
she.
it.
The first word. It doesn't hide what it is.
Yeah,
Or who
it's
she
right.
is.
It's She-Hulk, and that's the problem. It's like I like the part of the show after the hyphen, but before the hyphen, it's not really for me.
It's not for me. I really like Bruce Banner, but Jennifer Walters can just go.
I like attorney, but not law.
Right.
Why she gotta be a female? Why she gotta
be a lawyer attorney? Why not just a regular attorney?
What did you what do you think about taking some of the real life criticism that Eric? I think that Ms. Marvel is a great Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Look, Carol Danvers, whatever you
Marvel
want to call her.
But Ms. Marvel
Binary.
does have its own social commentary too, which is really cool. But keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what did you think about incorporating that, Eric?
It's the perfect show to do it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they can get away with things that other shows wish they could. Yeah. And so, and I have to say, like, I mean, as much as I enjoyed the first Deadpool and parts of the second one, like, there's something here about it that just feels like, because it is a light touch, that they just are able to do whatever they want and still have an impact, dramatically and comedically with what's going on. So I think they're really having the best of both worlds. And one thing we didn't really talk about with her is also like the idea of how people want her to be a Hulk. Like she got hired and they're like, oh no, we don't want you, we want She-Hulk. Harkens back
you
to
need
that.
To come into this office
as a Hulk, or you don't come at all. And then the interviews, they want her to be a Hulk. And I think there's so much there about diversity hires. About can you kind of turn up the feminine part of you? Can you tone down the political part? But can we have you wear this outfit? Like that kind of stuff that like everyone deals with, and women, but all minorities who are sort of hired because of specifically, well, we needed to hire you, and now we need you to be this person. It harkens back to that fine Shakespeare work, Teen Wolf, from the 1980s, when he was going to be in the play, but he only wanted to be in the play as the wolf. Can you wolf up, wolf out? You know, it's the same thing. And but weirdly enough, it is the truth. Like you were saying, Katie, the showrunner had to have dealt with this. I mean, there's just no way she didn't, and at some point in her life.
Well, and I think any woman in, at least in the entertainment business, understands, okay, this is how the audience wants you to be. And this is how I am as a person. And like, if we don't say this, it's like, that's not in the wheelhouse of my understanding of who you are. So like, can you just do the thing where like, you're a tall green woman that's kind of scary, but really feminine also? That just rings so true to me. And I think, especially because Jessica Gao is Asian American, as far as I know, and there's so many different things in her writing that are touching on bigger topics. And I feel like Disney has this beautiful thing of like, you know, Fox, Universal, you can do the sort of harder commentary that's a little bit more blatant and a little bit more hard hitting, and maybe has like the really beautifully designed words. And Disney's like the softer edges, and they can hit those bigger parts. And sometimes it comes across, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's masked by a lot of comedy. But in the way that Disney does its own sort of storytelling, I feel like they're really merging commentary and humor really uniquely well. And I think Jessica Gao is because of that. Yeah.
No, I think that we basically, you know, we're getting, it's a fun show. It's got moments where it's light. It's definitely very silly, but they are making some serious points throughout. And I think that it's not heavy handed. It's a good balance. I think a lot of things try to have that balance and don't even come close. You know, it's just like, we've got to force our message in here. And it's the conscious idea of like, let's organically incorporate this in here. And, you know, using, you know, sort of basically, you know, spoofing social media, the reaction to some of their existing products, you know, projects. I think it's great, and it is a fun show. And then it's also, obviously it's fun. You have the cameo from the actual Megan Thee Stallion, who I know Eric's a big fan of. I just wasn't that familiar of, but I thought she was great on the show, watching the two of them dance together. I think if this show can have that kind of fun with itself, these next 6 weeks are gonna, you know, really be a fun ride, and I for one am enjoying it, and we hope all of you are too. Thanks to everybody in the chat, some great contributions, and yes, extra tip of the hat to Kame Egan for this week. You get the gold star for this week. Daniel Drew, you try harder next week. No, I'm just kidding. We love everybody. And of course, thank you, Katie, for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We would love to have you back soon to talk more She-Hulk. But if people want to keep in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can find me on most social medias at ElSassyPants, ElSasssyPants, on most social medias. And if you're on TikTok, it's with a Z. I don't post that much there right now because, you know, life. But yes, the one last thing I will have to say is that I feel like we need to be looking out for Ginger Gonzaga's character. I think there's something more to that character than we're seeing.
Interesting.
Assistant. I feel I don't know. There's just so many like coincidental circumstances, and she's kind of been connected to all those points. I don't know.
You know, I haven't thought that, but now when I watch episode 4 next week, I mean, everything she does, I'm like, oh, that's right. Look at it.
It's likely going to amount to nothing, but I just feel like there's something more to her character that we're not quite seeing yet.
And of course, Eric, where can you and where should you be found?
For the next week, expect to find me indoors, preferably inside my own refrigerator. But digitally, you can find me at Count Eric Connor over on Instagram and Twitter, and I don't know, TikTok doesn't want me, and I don't want them, so it's fine. But yeah, thank you guys. It was so much fun. Katie, great seeing you again.
Good to see you too, Jay.
And of course, you can find me at Christian DMZ, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel. You will get this show. Will be Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific up until the end of She-Hulk. Then we'll see you on the next show. We go where Feige tells us. So that's where we'll be for the next 6 weeks.
Can we congratulate you again?
Earlier, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry, what? I'm trying to get my plug out, but what were you saying?
I was going to congratulate you as a way of getting to the plug, because it's not always about you, the Stallion. sometimes it's about other horse-like creatures like myself, the jackass.
You know, I was telling Katie before we started, I was gonna put Christian DMZ, the Shetland pony, and then I'm like, I'm just working too hard. I think I should just stay with the stallion.
Shetland ponies are cute.
Thank you. Yes, if you
Congratulations,
want to
Mazel
see
tov.
the video version of our 500th episode of the Black Cast, it is indeed 2 full hours with John Lovitz. And as John would say about somebody who gets to sit down with him, have a good listen. But it is a great listen. And, you know, I was willing to, you know, let him go after an hour. He kept talking, but it was great. And we will also have some other special guests in the near future, one of which I was mentioning, but we've got Lovitz for episode 500. There will be new audio episodes every day next week. So tune in, subscribe to the video version, Blackcast, BLADTCAST, and of course the audio version. And did you put that up there, Eric? I forgot you can still fly the comments in. Yes. I'll just leave it there on the screen. And thank you to everyone. And as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!